buckle up, boys. Time to go to work. While you're at work.
Locker rooms are being shuttered.
Get the media out of the locker room, because we're the ones carrying the damn germs.
Games are being canceled.
I'm not worried about, fist bumping or arm bumping like some of these conferences are saying now after the game.
And Dan is complimenting McLovin.
I like that poll question, McLovin.
All signs the apocalypse is upon us.
Do you realize all the preparations?
Preparations have been taken if we have to hole up in a bunker.
What are the first three things that you just could not leave out of there without?
All right. I grab Paulie, I grab Seton, and I grab McLovin. Those would be the three things. Wait.
So mean.
What?
This guy in the hospital less than a week ago. I could just say something like that.
Look,
Terrible thing.
I got to leave the weakest behind.
Wow.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
How do I get Frishy's job?
This is Dan Patrick.
Well, if the coronavirus didn't have your attention 24 hours ago, it certainly should now. Welcome to the program, Hour 1 on this Thursday. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show, Uncharted Waters. The coronavirus's impact on sports is a story that is moving rapidly. The focal point for average fans seems to be the NCAA tournament. It's an event that defines the spring, and normally everybody can enjoy it. And as of 9:01 East Coast time, they're planning on holding it with no fans, but that could change. There's so much to consider here. You got to weigh public safety over entertainment here. The amateur athletes who work so hard to get to this point. But when you step back and think about the tournament, the one thing that jumps to mind is always teamwork. And that comes to mind because the most talented team doesn't always win, but the team that plays together has a much better chance. And hopefully that will be the mindset of not just the sports world, but the country as we confront the coronavirus. Teamwork with this. Right now, it's not about your brackets or who's going to win March Madness. It's sort of about getting through this and getting back to normal and enjoying sports like we normally do as soon as we can. If you look at a 12-hour period, in fact, it's a span of less than 12 hours yesterday. Just some of the things that happened here, where you had the Wall Street Journal saying baseball's exploring alternate sites for games. That was a little after 1 o'clock yesterday. The Columbus Blue Jackets closed their home games to fans. And then 30 minutes later, Tulsa's football players were quarantined. The Golden State Warriors, they closed home games to the fans. The Seattle-LA XFL game played without fans. The Ohio governor says that the basketball games, the first 4 in Ohio, will be played without fans. That's before the NCAA made its announcement. The U.S. State Department bans non-essential travel. The Ivy League cancels all spring sporting events. Penn State closes athletic events to fans. Washington did the same thing. NCAA at 4:15 yesterday advises against holding sporting events with fans. NCAA tournament at 4:30. The NCAA tournament will be played without fans. Michigan canceled its spring football game. Juventus football player Danielle Bugani tests positive for coronavirus. San Jose Sharks closed their home games to fans. The Big Ten closes its basketball tournament and spring sporting events to fans. Big 12 limits its basketball tournament to teams, 125 tickets, and no cheerleaders. So that's at 6:40 Eastern. ACC, right before 8 o'clock, closes its basketball tournament to fans. Ohio State says no football recruiting. Jazz Thunder game at 8:40 Eastern, postponed. That's when we went, wait a minute here. Something really serious has happened. And you turn on the game and you don't know what's happening. And, the broadcasters didn't know what was happening. A lot of the players, the fans certainly didn't know what was happening. And you had some people running around trying to get some details. We'll talk to a reporter who was there, Erik Horne. He writes for The Athletic. He covers the Oklahoma City Thunder on what that was like to be at the arena for 6 hours, and they weren't letting people go, with Rudy Gobert testing positive for the coronavirus. Then it continued. The ACC closes its basketball tournament to fans. Ohio State cancels its spring football game. Pac-12 closes its basketball tournament in Vegas to fans. President Trump at 9:04 announces Europe travel ban. Then Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson say they've tested positive for coronavirus in Australia. SEC closes its basketball tournament to fans. Just around 9:30, Rudy Gobert did test positive for corona. virus. NBA season suspended 4 minutes later. Pelicans-Kings game, that was odd too at 10:38 Eastern. That was postponed because the official in that game came in contact with Rudy Gobert in a previous game. 10:44 Eastern, Big East closes Madison Square Garden to fans for the basketball tournament. Then at 11:20, Oklahoma officials arrived to test Jazz players for the coronavirus. WAC basketball tournament postponed due to medical situation. And then Nebraska head coach Fred Hoiberg has influenza A. They weren't sure if he had the coronavirus. He was cleared. He went to the hospital, but they said it was just a severe case of the flu. All of that happened in less than 12 hours yesterday. Here's some other updated information for you. The National Hockey League announced it would make a decision on the immediate future of its season after a meeting taking place this morning. We'll give you an update on that as soon as we get it. Baseball meets on Friday to discuss if they will delay the start of the season. We'll talk to the Dodgers' Clayton Kershaw about that coming up a little bit later on. The California Department of Public Health said large gatherings that include 250 people or more should be postponed or canceled, and that would obviously include sporting events. It's fluid. It's moving rapidly. And as I said yesterday, and I firmly believe this, in fact, a couple of days ago, it will get worse before it gets better. And it's been a surreal 24 hours. I don't have all the answers and don't want to project that I have any answers, even advice for these leagues. I think common sense has to be at the forefront here. Can you shut everything down for a couple of weeks, hit the reset button and kind of gather all the information we need? And then if you want to continue to play these tournaments, do you postpone? The NFL with the draft coming up in Vegas. I would be very surprised if they hold the draft in Vegas. There's a lot of things that are pending here. Major League Baseball has a couple of weeks before opening day. But March Madness is upon us, and my feeling was, and still feel that way, we're going to be playing these games without fans, and I think that's the smart approach to have with this. But Rudy Gobert tested positive for the coronavirus. There are probably quite a few athletes right now who have the coronavirus, may not know it, according to the CDC, Center for Disease Control. You may not know it, but if somebody tests positive during the NCAA tournament, then what happens? So a lot of questions, not a lot of answers, but we continue to explore. Jay Bilas will join us. He's covering the ACC tournament here, and we'll get his thoughts coming up in a little bit. If you'd like to get in touch with the program, 877-3DP-SHOW, email address dp@danpatrick.com, Twitter handle at DP Show. Say good morning to our radio and TV partners, the YouTube channel, youtube.com/The Dan Patrick Show, and our Fox Sports lineup of radio affiliates around the country, numbering 362. We don't have a poll question today because I don't know if there was something that was applicable in this situation. We tossed around some things, but, this is... it's not frivolous. This is something that we'll probably talk about 50 years from now. I think it's that big. With what's just happening in the sports world, this will be something that we talk about. This will be a 30 for 30. Books will be written on this. And I know there's a lot of hate being directed at Rudy Gobert. We got other things to worry about than that. We should. He made a dumb mistake at a press conference, and they trotted him out as if to say, hey, there's nothing to worry about here. We know there is something to worry about. Rudy Gobert touching all the microphones when he went out for a press conference there. But the hate towards Rudy Gobert is not going to solve anything here, folks. It goes back to what I said to start the show. This is about teamwork. It's about trying to understand what we have and how we can get this under control the best we can. Because right now, all of that happened in less than 12 hours yesterday. What is going to happen next? Does the NBA just cancel its season? You got basketball coming up in less than 3 hours. So there's at least 50 basketball games today, Division I. And, the NCAA is in some uncharted territory here. They're in a really difficult position because these teams are trying to qualify for the NCAA tournament. And if they can't play, then they're not going to get that opportunity. Then you have to go back and say, well, the regular season champ gets to, make it, like the Ivy League. Remember when the Ivy League canceled its games, its basketball tournament? That was only a day and a half ago. Feels like it was a long time ago. Now it's so much bigger than this. And the NCAA tournament, with these bids, the importance of that, Selection Sunday coming up, and all of these games that are being played right now. Pretty amazing. So we'll talk to Jay Bilas about that. We'll check in with Erik Horne. He was at Chesapeake Energy Arena last night, Oklahoma City, where they got ready to start a basketball game, and then all of a sudden you realize there was a whole lot more going on. I think when you're trying to put this in perspective here and go, okay, now I got a handle on it. I probably have more questions than I had 12 hours ago, 24 hours ago. But this is what it sounded like in Oklahoma City, the public address announcer telling the fans the game was going to be postponed.
The game tonight has been postponed. You are all safe. And take your time in leaving the arena tonight and do so in an orderly fashion. Thank you for coming out tonight. We are all safe. And you can visit OKCThunder.com for updates on upcoming games.
That's not an easy announcement to make. And by the way, go to OklahomaCity.com. They gave him a piece of paper, and just said, here you go. Here, you do it. The game is postponed tonight. Drive home safely and go to OklahomaCity.com. All righty. Here is Mark Cuban, the Mavs owner, on this decision.
Nobody at the Dallas Mavericks is an expert on infectious diseases or their spread, and so this is not a situation where you fake it till you make it or try to sound or act important. The NBA has hired people with expertise in those areas, and they're working with people from the government. We have to defer to them, and that's exactly what we'll do. And effectively, if one player, two players, whatever it is, already have it, we'll have to act accordingly, and I think the NBA made the right decision.
That's during the game, and I will say there's some people who should be commended for the work they did last night. First of all, ESPN, Scott Van Pelt did a wonderful job hosting last night, and Doris Burke during the game. Doris Burke is saying, basically, this is really weird. There's something going on here, and I can't imagine that the Pelicans game with the Kings later is going to be played there. And she said probably shouldn't be played, but it was a surreal 24 hours of the world of sports. Not to mention the entire world. All right, you guys have thoughts how it affected you guys last night? I know that Paulie goes 675, and that's code to just go DirecTV to 675. You go there, and I went, there's nothing to see here. And then I realized there was nothing to see, but there was a whole lot going on there. That was the Oklahoma City game with the Jazz and Rudy Gobert. And then you're not quite sure, and then all of a sudden you get the announcement, Rudy Gobert has tested positive for the coronavirus. And then you wonder, how many people have come in contact with him? Now, he played Toronto a couple nights ago. Like, that's when you get nervous, where you're going, okay, just how many people came in contact with him, and then Toronto played somebody, and that team played somebody. You start to connect the dots, and that's where you have to shut it down. Yeah, Paul.
I turned on, I think it's Fox Sports Oklahoma, as soon as I got a tip that something was going on, and everyone's just standing around looking at each other. And then you see this guy, and he looks like a staffer for the I don't know which team, the Thunder or the Jazz. He comes running out and goes up to the refs and a few other guys, and he's like in their face, and they're kind of like covering their mouths. And then you see Chris Paul walk over, and Chris Paul's trying to eavesdrop, and he's walking over to the other bench, and he's yelling stuff over the bench. And then everyone just goes away. Like the two teams left, the players left, and then they were just quiet. And they threw it back to the studio. It was very surreal.
And I know that those fans in Oklahoma City had no idea what was going on, and that's why they were upset. And they vocalized their opinion there. But now you know what was happening there and the severity of this with Rudy Gobert. Yeah, Tom.
Just that timeline that you went through at the start of the show, it was just one wow after the other. I just kind of experienced it as a tidal wave. Just, oh my God, they're not letting fans into March Madness, and then they're canceling the NBA season, or they're putting it on hiatus. Just there wasn't a chance to even take a breath as things were rolling in with the news. And
you just do the numbers here. What are the odds of somebody testing positive at the NCAA tournament? Just the number of players, the number of teams. You just run the numbers here and say, it's not a question of if, but it feels like when. And then you have fans there. Can you have fans there? You have friends and family going to a game. This is uncharted territory here, trying to figure this out as we move forward in the best possible solution for each league. Yeah, see.
Watching the end of Mavs Nuggets as it just sort of ticked down to the end of the game, and you were waiting, and you're like, I don't know, is this the last game of the season, or is the next one going to happen? Because we were all texting at the time about Pelicans Kings and thinking, like Paulie's just like, I don't think they're going to play this game. There's just no way that they continue with this. It was very strange. And even the announcers, I think they did the best that they could, but you could tell even that was odd for them too.
Yeah, McLovin.
I turned to the Knicks Hawks, which is actually a great game, ironically. But at the end, they checked in Vince Carter, and he hit a three, and it made you realize, and Twitter said this too, that could be the last shot Vince Carter ever takes. Like he's probably going to retire after this year. And it's funny, I watched the Sixers Pistons, and I kept thinking to myself, like, because all these texts were going, I'm like, is this the last game I'm going to see?
Yeah, I couldn't do that. I said, if this is the last game I get to watch, it can't be Sixers Pistons.
I thought the same thing.
I just said I can't. I got to find something there. And thank God Trae Young went off for 42. Like I've just said, oh my God, if this is the last game I see for a while, it can't be this crappy game. But I did watch a little bit of it. And then I started to go, when you realize it might be your last meal for a while, then you start scarfing it down a little bit. And I went, oh my God, what am I going to do here? There's no more NBA for a little while there. And a selfish moment for me. Yeah, McLovin.
I had a selfish moment too. I wanted to see Zion play in the late game. Yeah. But I think Paulie texted out, this game's probably not going to happen. It dawned on me. But that would have been a lot better than Sixers Pistons. Who are those guys on the Pistons, by the way, Dan?
Once again, the National Hockey League is having a meeting this morning to talk about the future of its season. Baseball will meet on Friday. Baseball has a little bit of time here. But you have the Seattle Mariners who can't play any home games. And then they're talking about, well, can we play games in neutral sites, or can it be at somebody else, other team's home park because they have less of an outbreak there? Like we can't be rolling the dice with this right now. It needs to be more of a let's shut things down to understand the severity of this. You get testing there for these players, coaches. If fans are going to games, there's just you run the numbers here, and the numbers aren't in favor for any of these leagues. And at the NCAA tournament, I know it's a $1 billion entity here, but if somebody tests positive, one person. Because if Rudy Gobert doesn't test positive, we're still playing basketball games. At least I feel like that. Might be, Golden State was going to have their game and there weren't going to be any fans. And we were like, okay, everybody's going to follow suit. I thought the NBA would be at the forefront where you play games. There's nobody there. Golden State was the first. And then all of a sudden, Rudy Gobert tests positive. If he doesn't test positive, Oklahoma City and Utah play last night. Zion plays against Sacramento. And then we might be reassessing, but it feels like we would have games with no fans. That's where the NCAA is right now with these basketball games. No one's tested positive yet. But when one person does, now you quarantine a team. Maybe they can't advance. There's a lot left to this story. Yes, Eaton.
So given that, what you just said, do you just shut it down today? If you were making the call, do you shut down the tournament today and try to avoid the whole waiting for somebody to test positive?
Yes. I think it's that severe. And I'm not an alarmist, but I said this earlier in the week that I feel like we're like Italy was, and we're 10 days behind Italy. And look what's happened in Italy. We love to go, well, it doesn't happen here in the United States, or we'll come up with something here. That's not the case. And if I would just say, let's shut things down here. I wouldn't have the NFL draft. I would postpone the start of Major League Baseball season. I would not have the tournament. I would postpone it for at least 2 weeks. You may not like it, but you know what? We may look back on this 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now and say, those are the right decisions that were made. Not popular, but this isn't about the sporting world. I know in our world it is. And it's my livelihood. But this is a far bigger story. This is a huge story. And I don't know what the next 24 hours is going to bring. But if, the last 24 hours brought us that, what is next here? We'll check in with Erik Horne as he was held for quite a few hours there in Oklahoma City. He covers the Thunder for The Athletic. And just what that must have been like as he's waiting to find out, did he get tested for the coronavirus? Yeah, Paulie.
Dan, we're just talking over here, the guys, and I know it's a serious topic, but I have 4 letters that could help everything. A-U-A-A.
Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I got an announcement to make coming up after the break.
Seriously?
Yeah. Yes. It's a serious announcement that I'll have for you. That'll be coming up. This program brought to you by TrueCar. Go to TrueCar to build your car and compare models by options from discovery to pricing to reviews. Get everything you need with the new TrueCar. Phone calls are welcome. I'm not sure what your questions are. Don't know what the answers are either to those questions, but feel free. It's interactive. You want to tweet us, you can. And we appreciate you joining us on YouTube. It's free. It's youtube.com/The Dan Patrick Show. Take a break. 21 after the hour. This is The Dan Patrick Show. You complete 4 out of 5 passes. That's pretty good. You had 4 out of 5 shots behind the three-point line. That's pretty good. What if 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day? That's pretty good too, right? No matter the industry, healthcare to manufacturing to business services, ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster and easier. And today you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Patrick. ZipRecruiter doesn't wait for the right candidates to find you. ZipRecruiter's A1 scouts talent for you. Plus, you can post your job on ZipRecruiter and it gets sent out to over 100 top job sites. Then ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology will learn what you're looking for, identify the people with the right skills and experience, and invite them to apply to your job so you get qualified candidates right away. And now try ZipRecruiter for free. My listeners can go to ZipRecruiter.com/Patrick, ZipRecruiter.com/Patrick. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Got phone calls lined up. We'll get to those coming up. Full slate of NCAA tournament games supposed to begin exactly 1 week from today. Opening day Major League Baseball exactly 2 weeks from today. Go to rockauto.com, all the parts your car or truck will ever need. Rockauto.com, a family business founded by automotive engineers in 1999. 2 goals in mind. First, to give you direct access to all the parts information hidden in the computers and catalogs behind the parts store counter. And second, making those parts affordable by offering reliably low prices that are there 24/7, rockauto.com. The parts delivered right to your home or office. You don't waste time and money hunting for parts, phoning, driving, waiting in lines. Go to rockauto.com. Make sure you tell them we sent you. All the parts your car or truck will ever need at rockauto.com. Told you I had an announcement to make. If there's no NBA games for a while, what we're going to do if you miss basketball is we're going to bring back last season of the American Unathletic Association of America. We're going to show you playoff games, and we hope...
Not the full season?
I mean, I don't want to torture the fans that much, but...
That's where all of my best games were in the full season, so I think we just do the whole thing.
You're kind of a regular season guy. You're really good during the regular season.
Yeah, third leading scorer, no big deal.
Yeah. But it's all about the postseason, Seton. It's about winning championships.
Yeah.
And we'll bring those games back. We'll let you know. Hopefully the boys in the back, the big German, is trying to track down those games, and we'll be able to put those up on the website. So if you're looking for some quality basketball, I mean, don't go here, but if you're looking for some entertainment and something kind of close to basketball, then we'll have that for you. And no fans in attendance of those games. We were ahead of the curve with the American Unathletic Association
Very smart of
America. Yep. I knew that something was happening, and that's why we didn't allow any fans to watch us play basketball. All right, we'll get to your phone calls, 877-3DP-SHOW. You can tweet, email as well. No poll question today. At least we didn't think that there was one that was appropriate. But if you come up with one that you're curious about, we can have McLovin post that. Let me bring in Erik Horne. He is a writer covering the Thunder for The Athletic, and he was there last night in Oklahoma City. Erik, thanks for joining us. How would you sum up last night?
Oh, thanks for having me, Dan. And I guess I'd start by saying it was just strange. I kind of tweeted this out with the story that I wrote, that I'd never been in an arena as long as I'd been there last night and not covered a basketball game.
When did you get an inkling something was up?
In pregame intros, after they introduced the players, and then once they got ready to tip off, it just took longer than usual. And the officials were kind of talking to each other. And then, the Thunder's basically head doctor, Donnie Strack, ran out, and that's when you knew. But actually, I take that back. The real indication, not even when Donnie Strack ran out, to me it was when their assistant general manager, Rob Hennigan, ran out. Because it was like, okay, this is like a front office guy on the court before tip-off. Like, you never see this. And I was just like, okay, this is definitely related to coronavirus. You don't want to be speculative on the internet, so you just kind of sat there and soaked it up for a minute. And then once the music kept running, once those guys kept talking, and then the players looked confused, you were like, all right, this is the thing. This is it. This is real.
And I applaud you for this tweet. In the name of not spreading misinformation, I won't speculate here. Lot of people trying to gather as much info as possible, including the teams. Thanks for patience. That was a professional tweet by you, because it's obviously a confusing time. But, when the PA announcer makes that announcement, the fans have no idea what has transpired, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Everybody's just sitting there. And, I had a friend of mine text me later that night, and they said that they saw my face, and they were like, I could tell that you were trying to figure out what the hell was going on. And that's exactly what everybody was doing. Nobody knew what was going on. The only people that knew what was going on were, the people within those discussions, and we were too far away to hear what was going on. So, the players are confused, the fans are confused, even the people who are getting the information from the officials at the scores table are confused, and it's basically just a waiting game from there. We'd heard in pregame that Rudy Gobert and Emmanuel Mudiay were out due to illness, But again, you don't want to speculate. You want to wait and get all the details. And then once the team doctor runs out and they kind of confer, and you start to do some reporting, as our guy Shams Charania did for The Athletic, and Tony Jones as well, who covers the Jazz, you find out more, and then you can kind of work from there.
How long did the players have to stay at the arena?
No, the Thunder players weren't there as long, from what I understand, as the Jazz players. The Jazz players were there a while. I don't have an exact time as to when they left, but I know that their bus fired up a little bit after midnight. So if you think about when players typically get to the arena, you'd imagine that they were probably at the arena from like their pregame, warm-ups and how they get prepared for a game until the end of the night. It was probably about a 6 or 7 hour process for them. The Thunder players were longer than that because from some other reporting done from other outlets, they were probably there a little shorter, and they didn't have to actually get the testing done that the Jazz had to get done.
Did you get tested?
I did not. I thought about it long and hard, but they didn't require us to get tested. A lot of the people that are around the Thunder team weren't required to get tested either. Rudy Gobert was not in the building last night, which doesn't necessarily mean that the virus hadn't been spread to his teammates. But Jazz personnel, Jazz media who'd been around Gobert, in the previous weeks, and then the players were the ones that took priority.
Moutier get tested?
I don't know that. I haven't heard anything otherwise about Moutier or if he actually has the virus. He wasn't one of the guys that was reported as had the virus last night. I would imagine that he did get tested because he is one of the players on the team. From what I understand, they were trying to figure out last night where those guys were going to stay tonight because they stayed in one hotel, 21C, that was on Tuesday night. They were trying to figure out where those guys were going to stay last night and how they were going to get home today, whether it was on a charter plane or a charter bus.
What are you going to do now?
Write about the NBA. It's kind of like one of those things where people ask me in the off season, "Oh, what do you write about when the Thunder's not playing?" I'm like, "Yo, there's free agency and there's the draft and there's feature stories." It's like people act like the NBA just disappears off the earth once the game's in. There's always something to write about, and this is something that's affecting people more than just on the court. So I'm sure we'll have plenty of things and plenty of angles to write about from there. But we've been collecting stuff over the last few weeks and in preparation for something like this. So I don't think that we're going to be short of content anytime soon. But it is great to have the games. I mean, everybody's right in that sense. The games are what's paramount when it comes to what we do. But I don't think that we're going to be starving.
Erik, good to visit with you. Thanks for joining us. I thought you handled it like a professional last night, and I should not be surprised by that. But thanks for joining us.
You do what you can, Dan. I appreciate you having me on, man. Thank you.
That's Erik Horne. He writes for The Athletic covering the Thunder. And the tweet that stood out was, when he said, "In the name of not spreading misinformation, I won't speculate here. A lot of people trying to gather as much info as possible, including the teams. Thanks for patience." That's rare nowadays, unfortunately, because we love to speculate. We like to get out in front. But he's a reporter, and he handled it the way you should in covering a news story that was fluid. And those fans who booed at the time had no idea what happened. And you could tell there was a lot of confusion there. And then once they realized that Rudy Gobert had tested positive, I don't know where they administered that test, but then they realized anybody who came in contact with Rudy Gobert, including one of the officials who did one of the Utah games earlier in the week, I believe that might have been the Toronto game, but came in contact with Rudy Gobert. So then they canceled the Pelicans and the Sacramento Kings. All right, we'll get some phone calls here. Katie in Milwaukee leads us off. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Dan. First time, long time. So I just wanted to start and say I'm not an infectious disease specialist. I'm not a critical care doctor, so I'm a hospital medicine doctor here. I just really wanted to applaud to the NBA for finally taking this step. So anything that we can do to kind of stop the spread of the virus, to slow it, we don't expect it to stop completely, but anything we can do to slow the spread of the virus is going to be incredibly helpful. Italy, unfortunately, did not do this, and they're now at the point where they're running out of ventilators.
Yeah, that's what I said, Katie. I just think we're 7 to 10 days behind Italy, and thank you for the phone call. I would just be I'd rather be overly cautious. I'd rather look back and say, all right, I overreacted. And even when I said this earlier in the week and people were saying, you know, you're politicizing this, this has nothing to do with politics. I'm not weaponizing the coronavirus. I think if you listen to me long enough, you know that that's not my agenda. That's not a talking point for me. We're just searching for answers here. I'm as concerned as you are. I'm as confused as you are. And you're trying to find answers. And as much as I would love to have basketball games, the bigger picture is I'd rather we shut down everything for 2 weeks and then we reassessed. Because if we continue to play, we continue to have people at risk. Why don't we limit the number of people at risk? To me, that's just common sense. Steve in California joins us. Hi, Steve.
Dan, what's going on?
Hi, Steve. Ryan in Virginia joins us. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Dan. I just had a comment for you. Really, I don't think you really want to be the bad guy in this situation. You don't cancel an event that's got even 100 people. A kids' basketball game or baseball's gearing up around this time of year. So volleyball tryouts are coming up. I just don't think you want to be the bad guy and say, you didn't cancel something, so maybe 10 more people got infected or 20 more people got infected. I think it should be, like you said, sorry I overreacted, but, my bad. I mean, a couple of years from now, we'll say, well, that was the right choice. Not more people, more people didn't get sick. So.
All right. Well, thank you, Ryan. I mean, look, this is just my opinion, and being the host, you asked me to have an opinion. Hopefully it's an informed opinion. This is just looking at the situation and adding common sense to it. That's all. The numbers and where we're going. I think it gets worse before it gets better. How do we make it better? By reducing the numbers. And if that's quarantining, leagues and players and just limiting the access there, then I'm sorry if we don't have March Madness or we don't have fans there or we don't have the NBA for 2 weeks or baseball is going to postpone the start of its season or the National Hockey League shuts down for a week or 2 or 3. Look at the bigger picture here. Like think of something that not about yourself and your entertainment here. This is about what is the bigger picture here. And it's not just sports. It's the entire country here. We'll take a break. More phone calls are welcome, 877-3DP-SHOW. Email address dp@danpatrick.com. We got our play of the day coming up next. Jay Bilas, kind enough to join us, coming up top of the hour. He's covering the ACC tournament. And I was curious what baseball players are thinking about. Clayton Kershaw, the Dodgers, kind enough to join us in the final hour of the program. More of your phone calls after this on the Dan Patrick Show.
Is that a new segment?
Hot mic action. Yeah.
Oh.
Nope.
Right there.
Did you guys Purell before shooting around, or are we just going to let it run?
Should we Purell
Should we only
between?
use the same ball?
What's the problem with these balls or the peanut butter jar? Which is more of a contaminated
hot spot?
Hot spot in the studio.
Oh.
I got a piece of mail, and it says DP Show Dog.
Oh, Penny got a gift.
Oh, Penny's getting mail?
This is Penny's first piece of mail. Penny got some treats.
Is there some biscuits in there?
Yeah. There's some biscuits in here for Penny.
Penny is the breakaway star.
A gift for you.
Breakaway
Enjoy the
star.
bones.
doubt.
Dan seems
And by the way,
to like you
I
a
don't feel
lot.
bad, but
This
there's no
is
way we
from
can compete with
Jason and Parker. They sent in some bones for Penny.
For the Penzo.
Well, let me
I love it. Penzington.
take it back to Penny.
Have some biscuits.
So this is Jason and Parker sent in some bones for Penny. That's very nice. Look at you. Look at you. You got some treats. You got treats. Those are bones right there. Yes, they're hermetically sealed bones. Look at that. That looks pretty nice. Who would like to have a bone? Would you like to have a bone? Would you like to have a bone? Yes, you would. Yes, you would. Look what I got for you. Look at what I got for you. Yep. Oh, gotta hurry up and get this for you. Look at what I got for you. Are you being shy? Are you being shy? I got your bone. I got your bone. Yes. Yes. You go ahead. Have breakfast. Go ahead. Right. Good girl. Have your bone.
Oh my God.
The play of the day.
Runner left side, got it! They're gonna play it and play it.
This is the play of the day.
Check this out.
Vince is getting ready to check back in so the fans get their wish. So Vince gets back in, and hey, who knows what's going to happen, but if there's no more basketball for a while after tonight, Vince is going to go out on the floor. 136 to 128. They're going to give it to Vince. He's going to take a three and hit it. Even the Knicks are applauding.
Little semisonic closing time. Maybe the last shot of Vince Carter's career. You know, such a strange night last night. And, you know, even the announcers knew that, the season was going to be put on hold, at least temporarily. But Vince Carter, after the game, said, such a weird night, but I'm truly thankful for each and every person during this 22-year journey. If this is really it, I thank everyone for your love and support for all of these years. Vince Carter averaged 17 points during his 22-year career. Play of the Day is brought to you by True Car. Go to True Car to build your car and compare models by options from discovery to pricing to reviews. Get everything you need with the new True Car. Top of the hour, Michigan State head coach Tom Izzo. What does he think we should do come tournament time? And he's got a game tomorrow, not tonight. Jay Bilas will also join us. He's covering the ACC tournament and the Dodgers. Great pitcher Clayton Kershaw on the contingency plans for Major League Baseball. Yeah, Paulie.
You almost wish that the Hawks would release Vince Carter and let him join a playoff team in case they resume the season.
What an unbelievable career for him, because he became a great three-point shooter. He was obviously one of the great dunkers in the history of the sport, but to go from that ability to be able to be one of the better three-point shooters in the history of the game. Pretty amazing Hall of Fame career for him. More phone calls coming up. Once again, we'll talk to Tom Izzo of Michigan State. Jay Bilas thinks we should shut down the NCAA tournament. Bilas will join us coming up next hour. Steve in California. Steve, welcome back.
Hey, Dan, I appreciate it. Sorry about the misconnection, not what happened. I appreciate you guys accepting my call on back-to-back days. Only solidifies your quality of play in the clutch on any given day, my friend. Wow. What a difference 24 hours makes, huh?
Yep.
First off, I want to thank you guys for all your hard work and effort on a daily basis. Believe me, it does not go unrecognized. Dan, Paulie, Seaton, Fritzy, McLevin, truly a piece, of uncertainty to the uncertainty that we have right now. Anyways, my question is, in all honesty, Dan, are there any comparisons to the magnitude of this coronavirus situation going on in the country today? I don't understand.
I don't know if there is. Thank you, Steve. I mean, it feels unprecedented. I think the great Spanish flu back in 1918, they canceled the Stanley Cup final in 1919, I believe. But with social media and the information that is dispensed, I mean, this is moving quickly. And, trying to get information and trying not to project or speculate too much, because it's uncharted waters. It's dangerous to do that. And we're trying not to. I'm trying to give you as much information as I can when it feels like it's something that is reliable source. Mark Maskey, who covers the NFL, the NFL is considering contingencies regarding the NFL draft and other upcoming events on its schedule. The annual league meeting, possibly even free agency, a source said. League leaders are discussing all matters. Stay tuned, the source said. Yeah, I would be surprised if they're going to have the NFL draft in Vegas, because they were expecting around 750,000 fans going in for the draft. You can still hold the draft, but it might be something that's sterile. Now, I remember the first one I covered, it was at the Marriott Marquis, and there were no fans there. There weren't that many members of the media. And I don't remember too many football players who were in attendance. Is it going to be something stripped down as that? Players aren't going to be hugging the commissioner, but you could still hold the draft. I don't know what kind of window you have with the draft. Like, can you push it back a little bit here? But that might be the solution. KO in Georgia joins us. Hey, KO.
Hey, 5'11", 208 pounds of twisted steel, four-time caller. So, Dan, as an Augusta native, there are rumors swirling around that they could possibly not allow patrons to come to the National or the Masters Week. And that's going to be a big problem here. A lot of people rent their house out, get big money. A lot of people, base their entire salary on doing hospitality for Masters. I mean, that's how they make their money. They do deposits a year in advance. So how are they going to get all that money back? Are they going to accrue a loss? It could be a real big problem here in Augusta.
Oh, I know. There's a lot of other people who are, their salaries depend on sporting events. All of those people who work at the new arena in San Francisco with the Golden State Warriors, they're not getting any income because they're not going to allow anybody in these games. They're not going to have concerts there as well. The fallout is just beginning. But crowds going to the Masters and people losing their deposits or people with Airbnb, it's just part of a growing picture here with the world of sports. Yeah, Paulie.
You know, Alan Shipnuck, he's a longtime golf writer for Sports Illustrated and Golf.com, Golf Magazine. He just texted us 2 minutes ago. He got a text from an Augusta National member, quote, I believe the tournament will be played. Discussions are ongoing. Limiting patrons seems likely, might be none at all. Closing practice rounds, canceling the par 3. Everything is on the table. Expect an announcement last week. The source also told Shipnuck that if the numbers spike and things are differently, then they'll revisit that. But as of right now, they're not canceling the Masters.
Yeah, he says expect an announcement next week on that. But I understand this. You know, even with the Players' Championship this week, I haven't heard any announcement, but you have all those fans who were, you know, Ponte Vedra watching the Players' Championship. You know, and that's such an important tournament there, and the number of fans who will show up for that, and that starts this morning. Already started this morning. Oh. Crazy. Really is. Crazy. Tom Izzo at the top of the hour, Michigan State head coach. I want to know, what precautions can you take? What is he telling his team? Jay Bilas will join us coming up a little bit later on as well. Once again, baseball is meeting on Friday to discuss the possibility if they delay the start of the season. National Hockey League is meeting this morning, and they'll discuss the immediate future of their schedule coming up as well. And the California Department of Public Health said, quote, large gatherings that include 250 people or more should be postponed or canceled. That would obviously include sporting events. When we get the information, we will bring it to you. Of course, we want to make sure what we're giving you is not speculation, not rumor, not innuendo, but something that has some meat to it. And there are a lot of great reporters who are covering the different sporting events, the different leagues here. I don't know where the Olympics stand on this, but there's a lot of things that are in play, not just the NCAA tournament. More phone calls are welcome. 877-3DP-SHOW. Email address dp@danpatrick.com. Twitter handle at DP Show. Once again, our radio affiliates around the country, numbering 362. And our new TV home doesn't cost you anything to watch, except time. YouTube.com/The Dan Patrick Show. Hour 2 coming up after this. Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Locker rooms are being shuttered.
Get the media out of the locker room because we're the ones carrying the damn germs.
Games are being canceled.
I'm not worried about, fist bumping or arm bumping like some of these conferences are saying now after the game.
And Dan is complimenting McLovin.
I like that poll question, McLovin.
All signs the apocalypse is upon us.
Do you realize all the preparations?
Preparations have been taken if we have to hole up in a bunker.
What are the first three things that you just could not leave out of there without?
All right. I grabbed Paulie, I grabbed Seton, and I grabbed McLovin. Those would be the three things. Wait.
So mean.
What?
This guy in a hospital less than a week ago. I could just say something like that.
Look,
Terrible thing.
I got to leave the weakest behind.
Wow.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
How do I get Fritzy's job?
This is Dan Patrick.
Hour 2 on this Thursday, Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Tried to recap everything that's happened in the last 24 hours, last hour, and it's difficult to put it all into perspective. We have tweets about the Masters, the NFL draft. We got baseball's opening day. We got March Madness coming up. So we're going to have Jay Bilas joining us in a little bit, and he thinks that the NCAA tournament should be postponed, but I'll let you hear from Jay Bilas in his own words. Tom Izzo, Michigan State head coach, will join us. What is he finding out? What has he been told? What is the league being told? And what is he telling his own team? Clayton Kershaw, the Dodgers pitcher, wanted to talk to a baseball player and, of course, a Hall of Famer on thoughts of what are the contingency plans. How does he feel in spring training with all of this going on? So Clayton Kershaw a little bit later on. Rudy Gobert tested positive for the coronavirus last night. NBA suspends its season. The NCAA is going to play tournament games without fans in attendance. And you've got quite a few basketball games, over 50 games today and tonight. And this is putting the NCAA and March Madness into a little bit of a conundrum because do you need to play these games to let the teams get a chance to maybe qualify for a bid that they wouldn't have or improve their seeding? But you're running the risk because all it's going to take is one player to test positive. And then the number of players who came in contact with him in the past week, the number of games, and that's where the NCAA could get shut down. March Madness could get shut down if you have one player testing positive. If Rudy Gobert doesn't test positive last night in Oklahoma City, the NBA is still playing games. The Pelicans and Kings would have played their game last night. But as a result, the NBA has suspended its season. I agree. That's what I would do. I would look at this and say, let's look at a 2-week window here. And what can we gather in those 2 weeks? How can we limit the exposure here? That would be what is paramount to me. And as much as I hate postponing something or canceling something, this is bigger than March Madness in our brackets. This is bigger than the start of Major League Baseball. This is bigger than the NHL. This is bigger than fans going to Augusta. This is more important than that. But in my world, what we normally talk about, it's important. And I would love to see these games played. I just have the common sense to go, let's look at the numbers. And if Rudy Gobert tests positive, there has to be a player. And you can carry the virus, you don't even know you have it. And they're talking about, well, can you play baseball games at a neutral site or an NBA game in a neutral site or a site that doesn't have as many coronavirus cases? I mean, you're just playing with the odds here, and the odds are not in your favor. Tom Izzo, kind enough to join us, the great coach from Michigan State. His team 22-9 beat Ohio State. Next game, either Ohio State and Purdue Friday in the Big Ten tournament. Coach, thanks for joining us. What have you been told about the coronavirus?
Well, Dan, I just listened to what you said, and I thought you did it in a very professional and good way, in a human way. I just met with my team to talk about, how we're right now still going. I don't know what will happen in hours to come, but, how it's just immediate family and just all the things. And I'm starting to agree with you. I don't know what is best. I'm leaving it to the experts. We've gone through a lot this year, a lot of different things that have happened, and this is a whole nother beast that I sure I'm not an expert on, and I'm just kind of waiting and seeing like everybody else.
What if the Big Ten asked you your opinion?
Well, it would have been a couple days ago, if I was to be honest with you, where I would have said, "Hey, let's play the games," and now I'm looking at it and saying, it sure is starting to lean towards maybe it'd be best if things were postponed or canceled. But again, the problem for me, Dan, is I hate the social media, and the social media goes crazy on things, and half you hear and see is never true. So I just got to look at the experts in the health field, and whatever they tell us sounds like a canned answer, but that's kind of the area that I would lean towards.
What are you going to tell your kids?
I'm going to tell them, I just told them, I said, listen, we've dealt with adversity of a suicide. We've dealt with the adversity of losing our second-best player for the year. We've dealt with one of our guys, Xavier Tillman's wife, had a baby a day after a Maryland game. It's been one of those years where we've had to deal with some tragedy and some joy, but always distractions of some kind, and we've got to approach this the same way. If they tell us we're playing, we got to play, and we got to try to focus in on the task at hand. And if they tell us we're not, then we deal with that.
What about playing in front of an empty arena?
It'll remind me of my Division II days with Mariucci. I did that a lot. So I probably am one of the few Division I coaches that has that experience. But I don't know. Somebody brought it up to us. We scrimmaged Gonzaga this year in Denver. We kind of met there, and we did it kind of in an empty arena. And I mean, it's different, but once the game gets started, it's like everything else. Once the game gets started, it's about the game, and but at this magnitude, I don't know how that'll feel, but if that's the best way to do it, the safest way to do it, I'm all in.
Yeah, but we might hear some things from you.
No, like I said, I've been a Division II coach for 1 year. I've been a high school coach for one, but hey, what you see is what you get. There's no surprises. It's whether you want to carry those things on TV is the key.
Yeah, I also wonder if we would postpone this. There are schools trying to qualify for the NCAA tournament. There are schools trying to improve their seeding here. But,
right.
The Ivy League just canceled theirs and said, Yale, you go forward and, good luck. Could we get to the point where you just say the regular season champ is going to be representing the Big Ten, and then these games, you're not going to have games where you can go, okay, that's going to help you qualify for the tournament or improve your seeding?
Well, I think it's possible. I think right now, for the most part, most of the bigger schools, I think we know who the 5, 6, 8, 9 schools are going to be. I think where it's a problem is those schools as Ivy Leagues that their tournament champ is the only one that gets in, the one-bid leagues. And whether they could do that, I don't know. I think they could. I still think you could come up with a selection show and everything, but is it a week from now? Is it going to be any different? I guess that's what I have no clue of.
Yeah, and that's where I just think applying caution to this and trying to figure out what is really best for everybody involved, and not just this sport, but all of the sports, because it's a gathering, it's a celebration. We're very fortunate in this country to have these opportunities. But I also think that this is such a bigger picture here. And if you postpone the tournament, I hope they don't cancel it. But if you all I would want is a 2-week period here, Coach, where we can just say, okay, how big is this? How bad is this? How concerned? Just pushing it back to me would probably make the most sense.
Well, Dan, for a guy that sometimes I listen to you because I do watch your show. I do listen to you every now and then, more now than then, believe it or not. And I've always had great respect for you. I think a lot of times you kind of find ways to joke with me and this and that, and the serious side of you I think is right on the money. I think the biggest thing is it's all happened so fast. And then when it gets into social media, how do we know what's right and wrong? We've got to let the professionals figure that out, give them a little bit of time so they're not under these deadlines of, do you play a game at noon, do you do this, do you do that? Don't worry about any of those things. Do what's best for our society. And I think that's what you're saying, and I think, hell, I'd vote for you for president on that statement.
Well, full disclosure, Coach K was busy, so that's why we called you. just to. Hey,
now you're back to normal. You know what? That's the deal with some freaky things that happen. You got to get back to normalcy.
Yeah.
Dan Patrick just did it.
Yeah, and then Calipari was busy. Boeheim was busy, too.
Hey, the guy at Northern Michigan, where I used to play, is busy, too. So let's cover the whole gambit of people, and we don't have to worry about it. But I do appreciate you, and I appreciate, even talking about it. I wish I was an expert in it. I think I'm an expert on a lot of things. I'm probably an expert on few, but this is one I have no expertise on.
Coach, good luck against either Ohio State or Purdue on Friday. We appreciate your time as always.
Thanks, Dan.
That's Michigan State head coach Tom Izzo. There is the NHL Board of Governors call that is scheduled for 1 o'clock today in regards to the coronavirus. We thought it might be this morning, but it'll be this afternoon. Also got this word from Miami-Dade County. The March 22nd NASCAR race at Homestead is postponed at this time. NASCAR officials will decide whether or not to hold the race without fans as we move forward. Couple of phone calls. Mike in California joins us. Hey, Mike, what do you have for me?
Mike. Hey, Dan. Big Dan. Hey, I wanted to let you know that I actually caught the coronavirus when I was in China. I was back in December, and people do catch it. It's like the flu. It's really bad, and you live through it. I hear so much about it, but we don't hear from the people who have caught it. It's not very fun. I was very sick for a long time. I was there for 4 weeks, including quarantine. But I would put it right up there as having the flu, but about twice as bad.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike. We appreciate that. Jeremy in Iowa joins us. Hi, Jeremy.
Hi. I had a question, or excuse me, a suggestion for a poll. I know you're not doing one unless you can come up with a sensible one. But I'm curious as to how many people the cancellations and the no fans actually affect. Does it affect? Are you upset because there's not going to be fans there? Like, I had tickets to the NCAA wrestling tournament next week. I can no longer go to that. I am personally affected. But how many people who are upset are actually affected by this, or are people who can still watch it on TV and just aren't happy with what's going on?
All right. I mean, that's fair. Most people are watching on TV. Thanks for the phone call. Yeah, I don't know those numbers, but I certainly understand it's the people who work at these venues. I'm concerned about them. This is their income. This is where they get their revenue, and they're not going to get that. But there are a lot of people affected by this in a variety of ways. But my wheelhouse is sports, and that's the angle that we're taking the approach on. I don't have any answers. Said that in the first hour. Don't preach. Don't want to preach. I just try to apply common sense to what is going on right now. And it was as early as yesterday where I said I'd probably go to a sporting event, but I would be cautious. There would be trepidation with that. Now I would not go because I'm just playing the numbers games. And just because there's so many people, at least we're told by the Center for Disease Control, that there are a lot of people who are carrying this who don't even know they're carrying this. And it may not affect them the way it would somebody else. But just the numbers. If one player tests positive for the coronavirus in the NCAA tournament, what happens? And that's what I think the NCAA has to factor in right now. And Jay Bilas said they should cancel the tournament. And I agree. Tom Izzo just talked about that. I think we have to look at this and say we as a country are vulnerable. And we don't like to admit that. We normally, when like there's war, we always go, well, we have the best military. They'll protect us. We don't have that. We're as vulnerable as anybody here. And it feels like we're playing catch up. And therefore, that's where you stop things. Shut it down. Because you can't go, well, we sort of going to let you play. We sort of going to hold this event. We're sort of. You're playing with numbers. And you're playing God. And that's where it gets dangerous here. You know, if you want to have, the Masters and it's going to be played, but no fans go, okay, I'm fine with that. You watch on TV. Basketball starts in less than 2 hours today. And just imagine the amount of time and the number of games that are being played up until Selection Sunday. 53 games today. Selection Sunday is a long way away. And then you have the first 4. And then you have the governor of Ohio saying no fans are going to be in attendance at the University of Dayton Arena. But what happens if something happens there? The team that advances, one of their players, then what happens? Like, you just have to start looking at this going, these are actual, scenarios that could unfold in front of us. More of your phone calls are welcome. 877-3DP-SHOW. Email address dp@danpatrick.com. Once again, Rudy Gobert has tested positive. The NBA suspended its season. Then the NCAA is going to play tournament games without fans in attendance. We'll take a break. We'll come back with Jay Bilas and get his thoughts on why he thinks the tournament should be canceled. Coming up on 17 after the hour, this is the Dan Patrick Show. It's something amazing. It's Discover matching all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year automatically. There's no limit on how much you can earn, which is amazing. In fact, even more amazing because of all the places where Discover is accepted. 95% of the places, according to the 2019 Nielsen report, that take credit cards in the United States take the Discover credit card. So get used to hearing the word yes more often and learn more at discover.com/yes. That's discover.com/yes. Limitations apply. It's mail time. I got this from, let's see, this is from Kevin, who is our staff artist, it feels like. And he sent this in. This is the Stay in Your Lane Remember when I had the guy from, I think, Denver who told me to stay in my lane when I was talking about Green Day? Well, Kev sent this in, and it's a stay in your lane Green Day. And he's got another piece of art that he doesn't want to send in. He wants to drive. I think he lives in Washington. But a stay in your lane with, of course, my favorite band, Green Day. Boy, that's some spicy stuff there. That's good. What else do I have? So thank you, Kev, as always. University of Dayton sent me a bunch of gear. Well, that's nice. About time I got something from my alma mater. Let me see if they say anything. Thanks for your support of the Dayton Flyers, our recent video project. Yeah, I voiced the video project. Next time you're in the Dayton area, feel free to stop by the basketball offices and say hello. Go Flyers. No name, no signature. But I got some nice gear that I can give to the Danettes. This is from David Spade. Here's for you and the nerds. Can't wait to stomp you during bracket week. David Spade's shameful product placement and a plug for his struggling show. His show, Lights Out with David Spade. I think that's on Comedy Central. Apparently I'm not big enough name to be on the program with him, even though we have him on quite a few times. Book, everybody's favorite Jim Valvano story. Let's see. Somebody says, thank you to Marvin for getting this. This has been around a while. Am I supposed to sign this? I think I had a story about Valvano. All right. Marvin, am I supposed to sign this?
No, he just wanted to send it to
Oh.
you.
Am I, is there a quote in here from me? I think I had a,
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I had a Jim Valvano story. That might have been the night that we featured him on SportsCenter after he died. All right, how much time? Oh, ooh, that feels like a t-shirt. All right. Jay Bilas set to join us on loan from the mothership. More phone calls coming up. Brad in Atlanta. Hey, Brad, what do you have for me today?
Hey, Dan, how you doing today?
Good, sir.
Good. 6-0 and a Husky 223. So if you recall, back in it was about 2008, the SEC men's basketball tournament was played in Atlanta, as it was every year back then. Normally back then it was in the Georgia Dome. But because of a tornado that ripped through the city of Atlanta, they had to move it at the last minute for I think it was the semifinals and then the final game to Georgia Tech Arena and play it in front of almost no fans. Only family and credentialed media were allowed to be there. So it had that same eerie feel that I think we're going to see in the NCAA tournament. And in fact, the funny thing about that, because I'm a Georgia grad and remember watching it pretty well, Georgia was god-awful that year and ended up winning the entire tournament because none of the other teams, especially people like Catlanta, Kentucky, didn't have their fans there to support the team.
Yeah, I think it's going to be surreal. It's going to be like a scrimmage, Brad, thank you, where you're going to be hearing basketball and watching basketball like you've never experienced it before. There are 125 Division I college basketball games scheduled to be played over the next 4 days. 125 games over the next 4 days leading up to Selection Sunday. Jay Bilas earlier this morning was on the mothership, and he said that the NCAA made the right call to host the NCAA tournament without fans because of the coronavirus pandemic. Now he thinks the next step is obvious. If I'm the NCAA president, you postpone the NCAA tournament or cancel it altogether. Jay Bilas told USA Today by phone Thursday morning, this is worldwide pandemic and something that could overwhelm our healthcare system. This is bigger than basketball, bigger than sports. I just don't see how we play. If we do, I'd like to hear someone make a case for why. If it were up to me, I wouldn't play. a conference tournament. Jay Bilas joining us on the program. I'm there with you, Jay. I understand it, and I just think common sense has to be applied here. We got basketball games in 90 minutes coming up, and I have to be overly cautious instead of undercautious here, and I'd rather be told, "Oh, you overreacted," than we've already underreacted. How did you come to this conclusion that maybe we should just cancel March Madness?
Well, it was yesterday when the decision came out. I thought the NCAA acted appropriately in the first step, saying that we're going to play with no fans because the tournament's not for another week. But what was inappropriate was the lack of coordination with the conferences, that all the conference commissioners should have been told about that. The conferences didn't learn, the Power 5 conferences didn't learn about the NCAA's decision until they got an email at 4:30 yesterday afternoon. So when that went out, you knew, okay, there aren't going to be any fans today, meaning tomorrow, meaning today, but yet the ACC and the Big Ten was walking distance from the NCAA office, and they played with fans last night, and there was no time for any of the conferences to pivot. So there was no need for the NCAA to cancel the NCAA tournament because there's still time to do that. But I don't see, Dan, how the institutions, the member institutions, can shut their campuses down, tell their students not to come back from spring break, and yet play in conference tournaments when the paid professionals have said we're not playing. And then FIBA came out this morning and said play is suspended until June. That's a tough look. And I'm still waiting for someone to provide a justification for why we play. And I haven't heard one yet. So for me, not only the optics, but just sort of the public health, from a public health standpoint, I don't see how it's appropriate to play and to put these players at risk, even if they can say that the risk is limited now that there are no fans in the arena. I just don't see it being the right thing to do.
Who made this call?
Well, as you know, each conference makes the call individually. Now, I know that the commissioners are now talking about this together to see, to share information, but this should have been coordinated on the NCAA level. Like, this is what a governing body is supposed to do. They're supposed to, like, the NCAA can't just call the ACC and say, hey, we are suspending your play tomorrow. They can't do that. But what Mark Emmert could do is get everybody together and say, look, this is what we're being told by our public health professionals and the panel that we have on this. This is the decision we've come to for the tournament, and we need to coordinate so that we all are on the same page with how we handle this going forward, so that the conference commissioners could act in concert and make the best decision for the enterprise rather than just an individual conference. But, Dan, listen, this is not a craven thing or anything, but there's money at issue here, and money is an important issue. The NCAA office for the tournament has insurance that can help make up for this, if not pay for the losses entirely, because it's a multi-venue event that goes on over 3 weeks. So a catastrophic event that impacts it, they can insure against that. It is much more difficult for a conference to insure against a single venue event. So they'd essentially be paying so much for insurance, they're better off self-insuring. So the conferences are going to lose a lot of money. One, by having no fans, they'll lose a lot of money, but they'll really lose a lot of money if they shut the tournament down from here on out. But I just don't see any other way around it. It boggles my mind that we're playing today.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the numbers game here, Jay, just applying common sense, or at least trying to, that Rudy Gobert tests positive. If he doesn't test positive last night, that game's played. The Pelicans against Sacramento is played. But one person tested positive, and the number of people who came in contact with Rudy Gobert over the last week or 2 weeks, the odds would probably lead you to believe at least one player is going to have the coronavirus or may test positive for it, and then all of a sudden, do you shut down the tournament if it happens at that point? Like I mean, that's maybe worst case scenario, but I think it's probably what is real in this situation.
That's exactly right. That it strains the mind to think that there is an NBA player, at least one, that has tested positive for coronavirus, and that it doesn't extend further. And you could then have college teams, that so many more college teams and college players from every corner of the country that are flying all over the place that don't have it as well. That strains the mind to think that college players are free from the virus and there's no risk there or an acceptable risk. When the NBA took this action, I think, but they were ahead of everything. Yeah. They had planned this out, and the Gobert situation was sort of the last domino to fall, and this action had to be taken. What was interesting to me, Dan, and I don't know if you'll agree with this or not, but Mark Cuban, I thought, showed not only a great tone in handling this, but great leadership in stepping out and saying, providing his thoughts, and also a calming effect, I think, in the handling of this. And that's what we should have at the NCAA level. And we've had it at different times at the conference levels, although I haven't heard the justification for why we're playing as opposed to why we're not. But these are difficult issues. You're trying to cut everybody as much slack as you can. But I agree with you that sort of caution and being prudential in this is the way to go. And I'm not sure we're there yet. We're about to play. Like, I'm sitting in the arena at the ACC tournament, and I'm not even sure how we come on the air. I'm almost going to have to convey, hey, we're flying blind just like you are here. We're going to provide you all the information we can. We're going to do the best we can to call this game. But we do understand that there are greater issues here in the backdrop, and cut us some slack, too, because we're doing the best we can. It's going to be really difficult.
Is it going to be empty?
It is empty. There's going to be 150 tickets per institution. So they for family and then they can have essential personnel and all that. The one thing that's a little bit interesting is they're allowing, if you brought your band, you can have your band here. So we're going to be listening to band music, and they're still going to play the same music over the loudspeakers and have the same videos playing in the arena. I still haven't heard whether, what they usually do, they shut the lights out for pregame introductions. So I can't imagine in an empty arena they're going to shut the lights out and have spotlights to introduce them to players. That seems like a bizarre thing to do, but we'll see. And whatever it is, we'll handle it.
It feels like it's going to be like a scrimmage, and you're going to get different sound. It's going to have that different feel and no home court advantage for anybody. I want to bring back something that Tom Izzo said about 20 minutes ago. The Michigan State head coach joined us and had this to say. What if the Big Ten asked you your opinion?
Well, it would have been a couple days ago, if I was to be honest with you, where I would have said, hey, let's play the games. And now I'm looking at it and saying, it sure is starting to lean towards maybe it'd be best if things were postponed or canceled.
Yeah, we're putting these coaches in a delicate situation here. Have any coaches been public with their apprehension about this?
Not public, no, because they're good soldiers and trying to maintain an even strain with their conference decisions. But privately, I've had a couple coaches reach out to me, and they've said the narrative that all of the players want to play is not true. That they're scared, they're nervous about this, they're worried about their families. So the idea that all of the players will just blindly compete whenever they're told to compete is just not true.
Thank you, Jay. We appreciate your time. I'll be watching. If you want to make it personal and yell hello to me, I'd be more than happy to text you back.
Well, I have a sign that says that Dan Patrick is greater than Jay Bilas that I'm going to hold up.
Wow!
So I hope you'll be. I hope you'll be okay with that.
How was Dayton? How did Dayton treat you?
It was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. What a wonderful place, as you know. And then you couldn't be happier for a place like that and a program like that to get this kind of spotlight. They obviously deserve it. But to put a spotlight on what a great community that is couldn't have been a better day for us. We were so honored to be there.
And I love the jacket, the electric jacket that you had there.
Yeah, that was a good look for me. I think I enjoyed the pilot's hat. Frankly,
Yeah.
I would love to. I would love to make that announcement. Get on and tell everybody I'm in charge and buckle up.
You could be a flight attendant and do that. You don't have to be the captain.
That would be the most entertaining pre-flight safety briefing you've ever heard.
Hey, have fun today, and thank you again for joining us, Jay.
Thank you, brother.
That's Jay Bilas from the Mothership. Yeah, it's going to be strange. I know that, we're not having a pity party for the broadcasters, but it will be strange because the emotion, you play off the emotion when you do a game. When there's a big shot or you silence the crowd. These are things that, and the cutaways that you have. Radio will be easier because it feels like, you don't have pictures there anyway. I would think it would be tougher if I'm doing TV play-by-play than radio. Because TV, what are we going to show other than the action? And normally you have a cutaway, you have the band, cheerleaders, could be somebody famous in the stands. With radio, feels like you might be able to do play-by-play and have it be less intrusive or less awkward, but it will be awkward to listen to a game, hear a game, because you're going to be able to hear everything. And you're going to be able to hear players talking to one another. You're going to hear the coaches. You'll hear the officials. Not that that's something that I was looking forward to or saying, boy, I really long for that, but trying to look at a silver lining and the way these games are going to sound. There's a lot of leagues right now that seem to be in a state of flux. We're not sure with the NHL, not sure with baseball. We're not sure with the Masters. There's quite a few things that you're still waiting to hear if somebody has, what direction you're going in with the NFL draft. They have a little bit of time here, but the NFL is going to have to make a decision here relatively soon because if you're looking at close to 750,000 people reportedly going to Vegas for the draft, at some point you have to be fair to them. Can you still hold the draft? Will you still hold the draft? I think you still can, but I don't know if I would have it in Vegas. I think I would probably do something that's a lot more sterile in more ways than one, but if you're going to hold the draft and you want to be fair to these teams as they prepare for their summer, then you could still hold the draft. Yes, McLovin.
What happens to all that stuff that we were talking about last week, like the CBA voters on Saturday night, free agency? I saw some NFL reporters saying free agency could be pushed back a little bit. Does the NFL have to monitor off-season things? They're a little different because they're not having live sports.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen anything, and I have not had anybody who's told me anything. In fact, I didn't reach out to two sources that I could, but I don't know if they would have this information right now, and it would just be speculation on their part. But I think we're getting closer to not having fans at the draft, and then I wonder if that's the case, do you then just hold off on having the draft in Vegas? You wait till next year to give them the full rollout there. Yeah, McLovin.
Is it? And, legal tampering starts on Tuesday. Tom Brady could sign on Tuesday.
Could.
Isn't that surreal?
Could.
I mean, theoretically. I
want to bring up a story, and I've brought this up before, but not necessarily in regards to Tom Brady. But it has to do with agendas that are played. And there are agendas that are played right now. Every free agency, there's the draft, there's agendas where somebody has somebody in their ear who gives them information, and it could be from one side, and then somebody gives somebody information from the other side. And when I saw the report on Tom Brady with one side had information, I went, well, that's from Brady's camp. And then I heard the report from the other side, and I said, well, that's from Belichick's camp. Have that story for you coming up next year on The Dan Patrick Show. Take a break from the coronavirus coverage here. Legal tampering starts on Monday. I saw an article, and the headline caught my attention. ESPN is fueling the civil war between Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Do you know who wrote this, McLovin?
Yeah, this is Evan Blyer with InsideHook.com, which is part of the Real Clear Politics, Real Clear Sports Network. I don't know if you know that site, yeah.
He talks about Jeff Darlington. Remember, Jeff Darlington talked about as many as 8 teams could be interested in Tom Brady. Diana Rossini, who also works at the mothership, she said that the report by Jeff Darlington and others may actually be a smokescreen to save the quarterback from, quote, embarrassment that the market has for him isn't, quote, robust. The reality is, just from talking to sources around the league, it seems Brady is a lot more interested in teams than teams are interested in Tom Brady, she said. I think at this point right now, Brady's interest in other teams outweighs the amount of teams that are interested in him. I think the team that will need to put back up on the board that we're all waiting, that we are all walking away from is New England. I think that we, for whatever reason, because some of the reporting at ESPN has been excellent, at least from the side of Brady, that, yeah, he's interested to see what the market is, but what is that market going to be? This, according to Diana Rossini. Based on those conflicting reports, it certainly appears Rossini is carrying water for Belichick and the Patriots, while Darlington is putting out information that works to the advantage of Brady and his team. While you can criticize them for it, Rossini and Darlington are getting access to 2 of the most important people in the NFL in exchange, an invaluable commodity in their profession. All right. Well, I don't think 8 teams are interested in Tom Brady. As I told you, my source said yesterday, 2 or 3. And one of those is the Patriots. I don't know if San Francisco's interested. I don't know if the Raiders are. Tennessee appears to be, but maybe not as much as we've been led to believe. This is what happens. You'll get somebody who's going to give information to get it out there and get out in front of it. And I'm sure Brady's people said to Jeff Darlington, I think Tampa is one of the 3 teams. I would say Patriots, Tampa, and then I don't know the 3rd team. But that's just from my source with this. Because when I said 8 teams interested in Brady, and then he came back and said more like 2 or 3. I still think he goes back to the Patriots, but Jeff Darlington said he would be shocked if Brady went back, and that's coming from Brady's camp. I think, once again, you're trying to build up that, oh, my gosh, what if Brady leaves? Mr. Kraft has got to step in here. These guys can work out their differences. Brady and Belichick are never going to be friends. It's a public, professional relationship. Belichick, if he's leaking this, must feel like, you know what, we can water this down quickly. Now, maybe not all these teams are as interested in Tom as he's leading, everybody on to believe. It's just a game that's played. I've been used before with this. Sometimes after the fact, you go, wow, I was on the wrong side of this. But you're getting information here. That's why I'm always careful when it comes to what's going on with the NFL owners and the Players Association, because I have somebody on both sides that I can talk to, and then you could say, hey, is this true? And, to the contrary, you can say to somebody on the Players Association side, is this true? That's all I'm trying to get. But you don't want to be caught in no man's land here where you're a pawn for somebody else. I think there's 2 or 3 teams really interested in Tom Brady. I think the Patriots are. I think Tampa is. And if it's Tennessee, I think some teams are realizing, let's be smart about this. And being smart is not bringing in Tom Brady. Brady, I'm curious if what's the most important thing to Tom Brady? That's what I would want to know. Now, if he says winning championships, where can you win a championship? In the next 2 years, you're not winning a championship in Tampa. Could you win one in Tennessee? Maybe. Could you win one with the Chargers? Probably not. Could you win one with the Raiders? No. Could you win one with San Francisco? Yes. Okay. That's just if you're looking at championships. Now, is he looking at lifestyle? Is he looking at money? If he's looking at money, somebody may have to come in and offer him a 3-year deal. What if Tampa says, we'll give you a 3-year deal? Got all those weapons. Bruce Arians, great coach if you're a quarterback. But if I'm the Chargers, I need Brady. That's the one team that I think needs Brady. You got to be relevant, and they're not relevant. Patriots, I still think the Patriots need him. I just think Belichick has that ability to go, we're going to move on. And I was told they're so good at evaluating talent when it comes to free agents and making trades that they would come up with somebody who would fit their needs there. That they wouldn't be surprised if they re-sign Brady and they trade for a quarterback as a backup here. Or they bring in a quarterback. That's what I was told. But and the person telling me is not affiliated with Brady or Belichick. This is just a source that I have who's well-connected and will dive in a little bit and find out information the best he can. But, where it is now with Brady, we're going to find out on Monday when it's legal tampering time. If somebody really wants him, that's when you put a deal on the table and say, Tom, do you love us? Here's our deal. And if I'm a team that really wants him, then I put an offer in front of him that he can't refuse. And I don't know if somebody's willing to do that. Because then there's a report that comes out and says, Tennessee's looking at re-signing Ryan Tannehill. Maybe cooling on Tom Brady. Okay. And I know when Jeff Darlington came on, I think he was disappointed that I was questioning his reporting. I knew where the information was coming from, but there's an agenda attached to this. That's all. I know the game. Because you can't say somebody close to Brady. Well, okay. Brady's telling somebody who is willing to tell you. Why are they willing to tell you? And Diana Rossini, who did a great job in getting something from Belichick's camp. Or it's Robert Kraft. You'll always wonder who's telling you what's going on. Where's the information coming from? And what is the game that's being played? And there's a big game being played in New England. And Jeff Darlington and Diana Rossini could both be correct on this. Brady may think that there's 8 teams interested in him. Whereas Belichick's side probably thinks there's 2 or 3 that could legitimately sign Tom or that he would go there. And that's the key. There are teams that might say, hey, Tom, come on in. That doesn't mean Tom wants to go in there. And is there a mystery team? We've been told there's a mystery team. Well, it's always great to have a mystery team because we'll never know the mystery team. If he signs with throw out a team, the Bears. Oh, that's a mystery team. Okay, you got me there. But if not, we may never find out that mystery team. Always interesting information when it comes to that. So, Tom Brady, there you go. He's a good one. This story continues. Thank God. Yes, McLovin.
I was thinking last year, the first day of tampering, every single free agent story broke. Then nobody waited till the official deadline. So Tom Brady could sign, or somebody could sign on Monday. It wouldn't even be the big story.
Jazz star Donovan Mitchell was tested positive for the coronavirus, according to league sources telling ESPN. Jazz players privately say Rudy Gobert had been careless in the locker room, touching other players and their belongings. Now a Jazz teammate is tested positive. This from Adrian Wojnarowski. So that's 3 minutes ago. So now you have to look at the people Donovan Mitchell came in contact with. This is how it starts. Who guarded him? Who did he come in contact with? Yes, it's on the same team. Now he played against players. Like this, it's just the start. You just start connecting dots here. You have an official who worked a Utah game, and then he was doing the Sacramento game last night. They canceled the game because he had done a game with Rudy Gobert. What about the ball boys? What about their families? That's why you have to shut all of this down. You just have to say, let's just try to gather as much information as possible. That's all. You may sacrifice revenue. You just don't want to be on the wrong side of history here. You don't want to say, oh, no, we got to keep going. Hey, we're going to do this temporarily. Going to post, hey, no fans. You got to shut things down. It's my firm belief. 2 hours in the books. One more to go. More phone calls. Baseball's side of the equation. Clayton Kershaw will join us coming up. Dan Patrick Show. I got this from John Bassett, an attorney in Oregon. He sent me Fighting Ducks jersey. Okay. So I got a jersey. I'm not sure exactly what the jersey is. From Phil Knight. This is a jersey of Sabrina Ionescu. Oh, awesome. Yeah, the best female player college player in the country. She's awesome. Oh, that's great. Thank you. I'm a big fan of hers. The triple-double. Let me see what I have here. Always dangerous to open mail live on TV. What could go wrong? Here's some Reggie Miller basketball cards that I got. This is from Dave, who sends it on New York Yankees stationery. Huge fan of the show. Wanted to ask that.
Can I see what this is?
That's Sabrina Ionescu jersey. Let's see what I have here. Ooh.
A nice one. Is that leather?
Wow. That is nice. Corvallis. Joe Harder. Of course his name is Joe Harder. He's a firefighter, paramedic. Suck it back row. Go Beebs. Thank you.
Wow.
That's great. You had an envelope here somewhere.
Yeah?
Yeah, but maybe I opened it up.
I like one of these. I like the Spade Show.
Oh, David Spade Show? Yeah. It's a desperate ploy to get some publicity.
But he admits it probably.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, here it is, Paul.
You want to open it?
Aurora, Colorado.
Ooh, that's Aurora, Colorado. Probably like a Colorado State t-shirt, maybe.
I don't know.
Hopefully. The beef jerky. Usually I get shirts or beef jerky.
Pure Texan chili.
I was close. Chili powder.
You mentioned being into chili several times on the show. A package of my mother-in-law's pure Texan chili for you to try. She won the Terlingua chili cook-off with this recipe.
Legit.
It's available on Amazon under Pure Texan Chili. That's Tom Hardesty.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm very comfortable accepting food in the mail from random people.
Yeah, we got dog bones for Penny in the mail. And
all right, so this is exciting.
So we got that. That's a sticker. All right, we're cooking.
It's got a sticker on it. It's got to be legit.
Yeah, well, you can get it on Amazon. We got all these Dayton shirts. You guys can sort through this if you want. Yeah, they must think we're fat. Like every shirt is either like it's all extra large.
But large. Well,
do we look fat on TV? This is a nice addition. That is. Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Locker rooms are being shuttered.
Get the media out of the locker room because we're the ones carrying the damn germs.
Games are being canceled.
I'm not worried about, fist bumping or arm bumping like some of these conferences are saying now after the game.
And Dan is complimenting McLovin.
I like that poll question, McLovin.
All signs the apocalypse is upon us.
Do you realize all the preparations?
Preparations have been taken. if we have to hole up in a bunker.
What are the first three things that you just could not leave out of there without?
All right. I'd grab Paulie, I'd grab Seton, and I'd grab McLovin. Those would be the three things. Wait.
So mean.
What?
I just got out of the hospital less than a week ago. I could just say something like that.
Look,
Terrible thing.
I got to leave the weakest behind.
Wow.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
How do I get Fritzy's job?
This is Dan Patrick.
Final hour on this Thursday, Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. A lot has transpired over the last 2 hours here. We'll try to recap that. Clayton Kershaw, the Dodgers pitcher, will join us coming up. His thoughts on the coronavirus. And I started to look back on the timeline yesterday around this time. Keep in mind, the NCAA was just sort of monitoring the situation. You had some tournaments where you had fans showing up and some where you didn't. And then the NBA was monitoring the situation. And then, of course, all hell broke loose last night. But if you go back to 1 o'clock, 1:15 East Coast time yesterday, the Wall Street Journal said baseball was exploring alternate sites for games. The Columbus Blue Jackets followed up and said they're closing their home games to fans. Then you had the Golden State Warriors closing home games to fans. The Ohio governor said that the NCAA tournament games in Dayton, Ohio will be held without fans. U.S. State Department bans non-essential travel. 3 o'clock, Ivy League cancels all spring sporting events. Penn State closes athletic events to fans. Washington closes athletic events to fans. 4:15, the NCAA advises against holding sporting events with fans. 4:30, the NCAA says the NCAA tournament will be played without fans. Meanwhile, you had games, you had conferences, tournament games where there were fans in attendance. 5:24, Michigan cancels its spring football game. Then you have a football player for Juventus who tests positive for coronavirus. Big Ten closes its basketball tournament and all spring sports to fans. That was around 6:30. 6:40, Big 12 does the same. Almost 8 o'clock, ACC does that. Jazz Thunder game postponed at 8:40 Eastern. Ohio State cancels its spring football game just before 9 o'clock. Pac-12 closes its basketball tournament in Vegas to fans. The president at 9:04 announces Europe travel ban. And then Tom Hanks and his wife in Australia say they had tested positive for coronavirus. SEC closes down its tournament to fans. Rudy Gobert at 9:27 last night reportedly test positive for the coronavirus. 9:31, 4 minutes later, the NBA season is suspended. 10:38 last night, Pelicans-Kings game postponed. 10:44, the Big East closes Madison Square Garden to fans for its tournament. 11:20, Oklahoma officials arrived to test Jazz players for coronavirus. Now we found out that Donovan Mitchell has tested positive for the coronavirus, the great Utah Jazz player. NASCAR race postponed at Homestead. We're not sure about the Masters, if they're going to allow fans. NCAA tournament supposed to begin in exactly 1 week from today. Opening day of Major League Baseball exactly 2 weeks from today. National Hockey League going to have an announcement this afternoon. Baseball meets Friday to discuss if they will delay the start of the season. It keeps moving. Keeps moving. MLS has just suspended its season immediately until further notice due to the coronavirus. That's according to Grant Wall at Sports Illustrated. That's a 20-hour period that has changed the world of sports. I still think the NCAA tournament should be canceled. My opinion, I would rather err on the side of caution here. And I'm not alone. Jay Bilas said the same thing. And Tom Izzo, the Michigan State head coach, joined us last hour at this time, and he had this to say. What if the Big Ten asked you your opinion?
Well, it would have been a couple days ago, if I was to be honest with you, where I would have said, hey, let's play the games. And now I'm looking at it and saying, it sure is starting to lean towards maybe it'd be best if things were postponed or canceled.
Mark Cuban, Mavs owner, had this to say after the NBA announced they were going to suspend the season.
Nobody at the Dallas Mavericks is an expert on infectious diseases or their spread, and so this is not a situation where you fake it till you make it or try to sound or act important. The NBA has hired people with expertise in those areas, and they're working with people from the government. We have to defer to them, and that's exactly what we'll do. And effectively, if one player, two players, whatever it is, already have it, we'll have to act accordingly, and I think the NBA made the right decision.
Those are smart words from Mark Cuban, but that's what I've come to expect from him. There's 4 basketball games that are going to be played in an hour from now. Big Ten, Big East, ACC. These are games that are going to be played. Probably not going to have fans at all. You shouldn't have fans because Rudy Gobert comes in contact with Donovan Mitchell. Now he's tested positive. Who else has Donovan Mitchell come in contact with, or Rudy Gobert? The last game they played was in Toronto against the Raptors. Now, the Raptors haven't played since, which is just kind of a quirky schedule move. So I don't know if those players are going to be tested. If I'm the Raptors, I want to be tested on this. But now that Rudy Gobert has tested positive, now Donovan Mitchell has, and the NBA did the right thing. You shut down the season. College basketball, are we going to get there? And even talking to Jay Bilas, if you just play the numbers game, somebody is bound to test positive. And then once one player tests positive, then what happens to the tournament? And that's why I think you run that risk. And you're going to run that risk playing these games. You're going to get ready for Selection Sunday. We have 125 college basketball games before Selection Sunday. Just what are the odds of nobody test positive for coronavirus? 877-3DP Show. Email address dp@danpatrick.com. Twitter handle at DP Show. The NHL Board of Governors has scheduled their conference call at 1 o'clock Eastern today to decide what their future is going to be. Great golf writer Alan Shipnuck said he got a text from an Augusta National member saying, I believe the tournament will be played. Discussions are ongoing. Limiting patrons seems likely. Might be none at all. Anything, that far in advance is just speculative because who knows what's going to happen today, tomorrow, next week. And it could change all of this. You can say, for the time being, we're going to proceed without any patrons at the Masters. I understand that. Gives you a little bit of wiggle room here. But I think you can expect more postponements, cancellations. I think Major League Baseball, I don't think that they're going to start their season on time. Seattle can't host any baseball games right now. Seattle is shut down. But you have time to get that together. There's a little bit of time. The NBA did not have any time. Now, they may have had time, but what was done about that leading up to what happened last night in Oklahoma City with Rudy Gobert and now his teammate Donovan Mitchell. Yeah, Paul.
A couple of things. According to ESPN, Donovan Mitchell was the only Jazz player or personnel test positive for coronavirus. 58 people with the Jazz, all staffers, were tested on Wednesday. Only Donovan Mitchell tested positive. Rachel Nichols of ESPN has a story. The Toronto Raptors say their players have all been tested, and they're now being self-quarantined to their homes for the next 2 weeks. They're being asked to stay home and not go to the facility.
I mean, we have a contingency plan here with our show because we weren't sure if one of us tests positive, one of us gets sick, and then what happens to the show. So we have a contingency plan as well. And Fox Sports said, look, if something happens and you guys can't show up or you have to be quarantined, then we'll find somebody else, to fill in for you. But, this is as serious as it gets. And as much as we want to say, hey, it's just like the flu, it's not just like the flu. And we don't know. We don't have answers yet. And until we get those, I just think that some of these sports, these commissioners are playing God. And that's dangerous. That's just my opinion. All right? My opinion. All right. Phone calls, 877-3DP Show. Email address dp@danpatrick.com. Twitter handle at DP Show. Say good morning to our radio and TV partners. Thanks for all your support. For those who have the opportunity to watch the show, we encourage you to also listen to our great radio affiliates around the country and our Fox Sports radio lineup, but youtube.com/The Dan Patrick Show. Luke in Alabama joins us. Hey, Luke, what do you have for me?
Hey, Dan, I appreciate everything you're doing and bringing the show along. Y'all are doing great work. Keep it up. I would just like to piggyback on Coach Izzo, he mentioned that he would vote for you for president. I am alarmed that I agree with him, but I want to say, Patrick, Paps 2024.
No, we don't. No. I got enough people who dislike me. I don't want to add to that.
You're removing your name from consideration?
Yes, I am. I'd like to remove my name from consideration. Maybe I run for mayor of Milford, but actually I like the mayor in Milford. I hope he continues. I'd never want to run for office. Yeah, Paulie.
My daughter, true story, just the other day asked me about the rules for running for president because she just learned about them. You have to be 35 years old, et cetera, et cetera. She goes, I have a question she goes, if I became president someday, can I still wear sweatpants all the time?
Yeah.
I didn't know what to tell her. Well, I think you can.
Well, there's certain events you might have to get dressed up for.
So like in the West Wing at the residence.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can have presidential pajamas.
Oh, with like flags on them?
Yeah. Yes, McLovin.
Full disclosure, I was a little upset when you got the video component going so well with the transition to YouTube, because I was planning to go sweatpants every day.
You can.
Not now. Everybody's watching us.
No, you guys, that's the beauty of what we're doing is you're supposed to be dressing for radio. And it's not like you're really dressed up, McLovin. It's not like that's a big upgrade there. And that you've worn that hoodie for 4 days now, haven't you?
He's got an old Dan Patrick Show hat from 2012.
Yeah. Plus, I have corduroys that if you want to, there's a peanut butter stain running up and down my brown corduroys. Nice. That's peanut butter. Yeah, it's you're right. I'm not formal.
And
but sweatpants would have been nice.
And look at Fritzy, what he wears. He hasn't worn anything new in about 4 years.
I wear jerseys, Dan Patrick Show swag, and if I could wear sweats every day, that's fantastic.
Thank you, Todd. You can wear sweats every day.
I don't know why I haven't jumped in on that. I've been still wearing mainly jeans. On occasion, I wore sweats, but I think I'm going to do something.
By the way, we got some T-shirts. We just got the St. Patty's Day T-shirts in. And when is the last day that they can order those, Seton, and get those?
For St. Patrick's Day?
Yes.
Yesterday.
Oh.
Yesterday was the day that you would have had to have done that. So unless maybe your parade is canceled or postponed, we can push that down a little bit.
If your parade was canceled or postponed, we will bring you some St. Patty's Day glee, I think, next week.
Yes.
We'll try to bring in the bagpipes again. We love those guys. Yes, Paulie.
Maybe we should develop Dan Patrick Show sweatpants and sweatshirts, like a laying around for the weekend outfit or the entire week, and make it available.
Brilliant.
We would wear them. You can wear them at home.
James in Iowa joins us. Hi, James. What do you have for me today?
Hey, Dan, just wanted to let you know, first off, best show on the radio and actually on YouTube now as well, but also the most responsible. So thank you for that.
Thank you, James.
I got to thinking, has anyone heard, how do the players, how do the kids in these tournaments feel? Has anyone asked them if they even want to play, if they want to show up or anything like that? I haven't heard yet.
Well, Jay Bilas talked about that last hour, James. Thanks for the phone call. Jay said that he's spoken to, some of the kids have expressed concern about playing. And I understand it. Like, we don't know what this is. How much testing have we done? And there's that great unknown. I mean, if you look at all of the teams that are going to be playing, all the games that are going to be played, and then you're going to go to another city and you're going to play a couple of games. Then you're going to go to another city if you advance and play another couple of games. You just start doing the math there, and at some point, somebody will test positive. And then do you shut down that regional? Like what? Just think about what could happen here. And this isn't Armageddon. This isn't the end of the world. But you have to think, what is the worst case scenario when it comes to these events? And is the worst case scenario, somebody tests positive, and then what if they're advancing? Then what do you do? How do you play that game? Can you play that game? Mike in Virginia. Hey, Mike, what do you have for me today?
DT, 5'7", 200. So I got a philosophy on life. I wish everybody treated me like I was pitching a no-hitter. And by that, I mean stay at the other end of the bench.
Okay.
And then my other thought, if the NCAA decides to go through with the games, because a 20-year streak is coming to an end possibly, and that's brats and beers with the boys, skipping work on Friday, that can't happen. But in the event they decide to play the games, what if they just piped the sound of a game through the PA system Because I'm sure when the players are playing, the crowd is blurry. They can hear them, maybe sense them, but I don't think they really see them.
Yeah, but it's going to be – thanks, Mike. I don't want to go to Mike's beer and brats party with him coughing like that. But, you can't pipe in crowd noise. I mean, you can if you're like the Colts or the Falcons here. But, this is – there's more – it's territorial cheering when it comes to college basketball. Whereas you can pipe in crowd noise, for the Colts game, and that's different than the rivalries. And, when you have college students there, it's a different type of noise there. I don't need to have anything artificial piped in here to, enhance the experience. If it's March Madness, it still means something.
Oh, look at all these people here.
Wow. All these people just showed up here.
It feels like I'm not alone anymore.
Sounds like a cocktail party.
Wow. Now I can watch this basketball game. I've got all of these people here.
You got a little shrimp over there?
Yeah.
Instant atmosphere.
Is this like Thanksgiving or something?
I don't know. It just says bar crowd.
Oh, bar crowd. Yeah, Paul.
Couldn't you just take old footage of like Duke fans in the 80s cheering their team on and cut away to those? The people will have like mullets and jean shorts, but it'd be good TV.
Yeah. I don't need any artificial noise pumped in here.
Just like that, we're at a baseball game.
Well, you could do that on radio. You could pipe in some fake noise. That might enhance the broadcast. I would rather not hear anything, just to hear what that sounds like.
Because what's weird? Now it's like it's turned every professional game into a youth game where it's only parents on the sideline or like a college basketball game. It's only parents allowed on the sideline and you're not allowed to speak or else it's considered really rude. You can't cheer for your kid. You can't do whatever. You just have to sit there quietly and watch them play.
I remember going to a soccer match with one of my kids and we were told you weren't allowed to yell. It was a non-yelling soccer match. And I went, what has happened? Like, I'm not allowed to yell. There's no cheering. And I went, well, what am I doing here? Sad. Trevor in Tennessee. Hey, Trevor.
Hey, Dan. 6'2", 235.
Yeah.
Well, we got a whole new meaning to the term March Madness, apparently.
Yeah.
And it's rare that I get to watch you or listen to you during this time because I'm usually working. But in lieu of my 50th birthday coming up on Saturday, I'm in my pajamas in my man cave.
This program brought to you by Mercedes-AMG. Be prepared for whatever comes your way. It's the all-new GT four-door coupe. Because life is a race, visit your local dealership for a test drive today. If you missed any of our celebrity interviews this week from the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave or any week, go to the Dan Patrick Show app, watch and listen from inside the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave. Mercedes-AMG driving performance. Did we settle the chat room and the name chat? Are they the chat row? Is that what we're going with? Because Mario said that there was still some civil unrest there on the name. I like chat row, and hopefully that everybody plays nice with that. Let me see. Jared in Connecticut joins us as we wait for Clayton Kershaw.
Dan, how's it going?
Great.
I just had a quick question about what your feelings were here in Connecticut about the CIAC being completely canceled and the high school kids not being able to finish out their seasons in all the winter sports, because it's like crazy over here in the Valley right now with the CIAC.
Yeah, I know. I understand it, and it's sad. But you have a great high school team that they've done features on, and I think they're recognized nationally. Seton, you've been following this.
But yeah, I think Windsor, I think, is in first place all year. But there's this one school, Prince Tech, that has that they went 23-0. They've been this like really incredible story this year. They have a kid named Kazel Stewart that is just like, he's like watching Vince Carter, but he's 17. It's just unbelievable. He could he's just these crazy windmill dunks and a super talented team. And they've been a great storyline so far this whole year in Connecticut high school basketball, and now it's just been cut short because of all this. And now people are protesting, and I'm sure you've seen all that on the news.
And they're talking about, private schools are being shut down, public schools not as much, because parents working and, what happens with the kids if no parents are at home. Yes, McLovin.
Yeah, and in New York City, a lot of kids depend on these free school lunches as a means to eat. So
yeah.
You're right, it's tough. How do you do all this?
I mean, there's victims. There's collateral damage with all of this. And you want to see these kids get an opportunity to play. We all do. But you have to weigh out, the severity of this and the risk and the reward. Dakota and Missouri. Dakota, welcome to the program.
Hey, DP. Hi, Dan. How's it going?
Hey, bud.
Hey, so I just had a question in regards to the NCAA tournament, because it seems like every year there's always like a signature player. Like last year it was John Morant. And if we don't have the tournament, we don't get an opportunity to see that. And that could impact the draft overall. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, it's fair. It's fair to assess the value to the NCAA tournament. I get that, because it feels like every year, at least in the last decade or so, we have a couple of players that, come to the surface of college basketball and get headlines, and you're like, where's this guy been all year long? I'm hopeful that we're able to play these games for that, for the kids who have been working towards this moment, but there's not going to be fans there. I just think all it takes is one player to test positive. That's it. And then they could shut this whole thing down. I think it's that tenuous. But I hope we get to have basketball games from a selfish perspective. But if you said it was my decision, I would shut it all down. This is from Alan in Medford, Mass. Hey, guys, the mailroom live segment with Dan is great. Watching him decipher the packages is gold. Suck it all, Danettes, except for Penny. Penny is the DP show dog. She actually got her first piece of mail today. Penny got some bones in the mail. And Penny is in the control room. That's the big German's dog, Penny. And he's in there with Dylan, who makes spelling mistakes. He's our graphics guy. Clayton Kershaw set to join us on the program. And we'll get some more phone calls as well, 877-3DP Show. Email address dp@danpatrick.com. Twitter handle @DP Show. Yes, Paulie.
I got an idea for filler stuff if there's no NBA on it tonight.
Okay.
And you might be perfect at this. I can actually see you doing it.
Okay.
What if go back to 1980 and play the last game of the NBA Finals, one game a night, every night until you go from 80 till now. And you have someone like you or Marv Albert or someone old school host it that knows NBA. And let's say you at the 81, you and Kevin McHale walk through that game and show clips of it and play it in its entirety and do like a halftime report. Almost like dinner and a movie with an NBA Finals game. Then you go to 1985 and you're sitting there with whoever won. And then you go Scottie Pippen and you or Marv Albert. Then you go to the 90s. Imagine NBA and NBA TV and TNT did that. I know you got to scramble to get it together, but that would be unbelievable filler.
I did something for NBA Entertainment years ago, and it was Greatest games in NBA history.
Great stuff.
And then I would have a guest on who played in that game. And that was fun because you're getting they're looking back on that game and giving you the perspective or giving you something that maybe you didn't know at the time. And I remember having JoJo White on. When the Phoenix Suns played the Boston Celtics at the Garden, and you had, the triple overtime game, the Gar-Hurd shot, and we had JoJo White on, and he was talking about that game, looking back on it. Bill Walton was with me when the Celtics won in 1986. Walton helped me out with that in looking back on that game. Yes, McLovin.
Bit of a shot there by Paulie at me, 1980 last game. That's when Magic
Wow.
filled in for Kareem
Wow.
and beat the Sixers.
No.
Obviously intentional.
Yeah. Yes. It's friendly fire. Friendly fire.
I figured you'd want to see the Sixers go deep in the playoffs at some point. Maybe we could bring this game back.
I remember covering the Sixers with Dr. J. And back then, I was in the training room, and Dr. J was there, and he had these bulky knee braces on. And I remember he put his hands on his thighs, and his fingers went all the way down, it felt like, to his shins. Like it was like if E.T. had all of his fingers and put his hands down, and that was Dr. J. And I was such a Dr. J fan. I just remember going, when I watched him in the ABA, I saw one game, I believe it was against the Kentucky Colonels, and I just remember going, I'm seeing something I haven't seen before with Dr. J, and it was spectacular. Clayton Kershaw joining us on the program, the Dodger left-hander. Where are you right now?
I just got to the spring training site. Sorry, I'm a little late. I kind of forgot about you, Dan. My fault.
Wow. Have you ever been late for a start as far as getting to the ballpark?
No. I've had some, actually opening day in LA when it's in the middle of the week, you kind of, traffic gets a little bad. So I have had, I've had to skip some turns and cut some corners to make it on time, and been pulled over a couple times actually for doing that.
Wait, you got pulled. Did you get a ticket?
Yeah, so when you go to the Dodger Stadium, there's like a little route that you can go that's just for the neighborhoods, and I've had to use that a couple times, and there's always a policeman right there waiting to get guys. And thankfully, they've let me go every time, but I have had to stop and explain what's going on. So, well,
it's weird. You have your uniform on when you're driving, so of course it probably helps you, right?
Yeah, opening day, I always sleep in my uni, so that's good.
Well, it's like Little League, You loved it so much you couldn't wait for it. Do you have a nightmare when it comes to pitching? Like I have a nightmare that I'm always going to be late for SportsCenter. When I did SportsCenter, that I'm somehow going to get there and I'm not prepared. Do you have anything pitching-wise?
Nightmare-wise, not really. No, I don't have a nightmare.
Like you don't think about, I can't get anybody out.
I always worry I always worry about that. I don't know if that's a nightmare or just like a reality. Until you get out there, you never really know if you're going to be able to do it. So you kind of always figure it out after that first pitch. But I think that's just like pregame, nerves.
What have you been told about the season?
Nothing. I haven't been told anything yet. Obviously I think California just did the no fan thing. So honestly, I'm kind of waiting for today's meeting to figure out what we're doing.
I think you can't have a gathering of more than 250 people.
Yeah. So whether that means like empty stadiums or we stay here or what, but I haven't heard anything yet, to be honest.
But even where you're socializing with fans, have you been told about, how much interaction you can have with fans during spring training or socializing with other players? Like it's sort of strange now with what happened with the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, it is weird. I mean, I think, they did the media thing, so no media access in the clubhouse, just trying to alleviate some of that. And then, they do say, like, try to restrict autographs and try to, like, maybe not give your teammates high fives, but that's just, that's really hard to do, So just wash your hands more, I guess, is the only thing I'm really doing.
Yeah, but you guys are disgusting, though. You're always, like, licking your fingers and running the ball and spitting. And, come on. You guys are like a Petri dish.
Yeah, I would agree when you put it like that. But I will say basketball and hockey are a little bit different in that, like, they're literally sweating all over each other, checking guys and posting up and things like that. So that seems more of like a hotbed than like a baseball game, in my opinion. But I'm no doctor.
Are you allowed to, like, how much sweat are you allowed to use on a baseball?
How much sweat?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Could it
There's
help?
No foreign substances, but I think that would just make it slicker, wouldn't it? I think that'd make it worse.
Yeah, but if you throw a spitball, like, not that you threw a spitball, but I'm just wondering if, like, what are you allowed to put on a baseball now? Where you don't, and are you okay if everybody uses pine tar to be able to grip the ball better?
Yeah, the foreign substance has become a little bit of a hot button topic. Yeah, and I think as long as you try to get a grip on the baseball, I'm not really worried about what guys are using. And I think if we can make it uniform and everybody use the same thing, and like, you know how you have the rosin bag out on the pitcher's mound? If you put X substance behind the pitcher's mound and found a way to kind of regulate that, then I think that would be great. But the balls are really, really slick coming out of the thing. So yeah, you can use sweat and rosin, and that kind of does the trick. But if they had one more thing behind the mound to help us, that would be great. Just like hitters do with their bats. I mean, they're putting all sorts of stuff on their bat.
We're talking to Clayton Kershaw, the Dodgers pitcher. How did you greet Mookie Betts when you first met him?
How did I greet him? I was excited. He probably didn't match my level of excitement, but I was really fired up.
He wasn't as excited to meet you.
Yeah, no, I think I probably caught him off guard. But yeah, no, he's been great, man. He's going to be awesome for us. And I honestly didn't know much about him. We don't play him a ton, and he's just an awesome guy. You talk about like great presence in the clubhouse and all that stuff. He's been awesome. The same with DP. David's been awesome too, and I've always loved watching him pitch. So it's gonna be awesome to have both those guys.
We haven't spoken since the Astros scandal.
What happened?
But I wonder about this though, Clayton. In all sincerity, we look at your legacy, and everybody talks about a great regular season pitcher, and you go back to that game against the Astros, and they weren't swinging and missing. And it's impossible to face you when you're throwing your curveball or you're throwing that changeup, and nobody's missing any pitches there. Did you feel it in the moment that something was up?
No, I don't really. In the moment, obviously, it just sucks. You get beat, and you have to go back and do all those things, and you get back on a plane and go back and think about it, and yeah, it's no fun. And I think obviously it's no secret that we were all affected by it, and as far as would we want a World Series or whatever, I just don't let myself think about it. It happened, it's over. I was upset about it and moved on, and just try to do the best you can with that. And, I could get all hot and bothered by it, but it's not going to change anything. And, as far as legacy and all that stuff, I'm not worried about that. I'm just not. And whatever it is at the end of my career will be good. And, as long as the teammates, and I always think that, as long as my teammates respect what I'm doing and they want me out there, then, I think that's a good career. So that's what I try to focus on.
Well, I mean, it's admirable to do that.
You just don't buy it.
Well, I hope that's how you feel. I just, when you're watching it, now you think back on it. I mean, they were teeing off on you, and I find it amazing. And they were teeing off on others, and you just go, okay, man, they're hitting the ball solid, and nobody's missing any of your pitches. And that's where, you start to go, God, that's strange. And I would be angry. I'd feel like I was cheated. But at some point, I understand I have to move on. And, I commend you if you're able to move on. I don't know if I could move on this quickly.
Yeah, well, it's been a little while now, and, I'm good with it. And I think I've talked so much about it now that it's like I don't even have anything to say anymore. It's all good, and I mean, hopefully we have a season this year, and when we play, kind of move on with that.
Would you rather talk about the coronavirus than the Astros cheating scandal?
Are those the only options you have to talk about?
What do you want to talk? What question do you have for me?
Who was your last interview? Who did you have on before me?
Let me see. I had Jay Bilas on from ESPN.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about what are they doing March Madness-wise? Are they going to still do that, you think, or just do empty crowds?
They are probably going to play in front of empty arenas.
Man, that will be weird. And that'd be weird for baseball, too. I can't imagine doing that. I know the Orioles and the White Sox did that when they had the riots in Baltimore, but I can't imagine doing that. That would be so crazy.
But have you ever pitched in front of a really, really sparse crowd?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
What
But
is-
at least there's still an atmosphere of a major league game. Like even when you play a midweek day game in like a city that doesn't draw, like there's still at least like 10,000 people there, like 0 people, that would be so difficult.
Well, then you can hear everything. There were times when I would tune into a game and I'd go, I can hear the guy down the third base line who's ordering something. But I liked it. It brought me closer to the game. I think we're going to hear a lot of things on the basketball court that we've never heard before.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. I just, as a player's perspective, like the adrenaline and the rush that you get from having a crowd and like hearing the roar and things like that, like that's something that you just learn how to pitch with, and it elevates a lot of people's game. And so I think to try to create that atmosphere and that adrenaline for a game with no fans is going to be very difficult for a lot of guys. And
when the Astros use the garbage can, it's going to be louder this time around, obviously, right?
I think they might get caught this time for sure.
Hey, great to talk to you. Good luck in the upcoming season. You're in our bracket challenge, aren't you?
Yes. Do I still get to do that?
Yeah. We have to
Okay.
have a tournament, but if there's a tournament, then you're in the bracket challenge.
All right, I'm in. I got it.
All right. Thank you, Clayton.
All right, thanks, guys.
That's Clayton Kershaw, the Dodgers pitcher. He's past it. He's over it. He's a better man than me. Because I would hold a grudge. I think I hold a grudge around 10 years. Like, I think I hold him that's about the amount of time I'll
Like
hold
the cicadas, every 7 years you let them go?
Yeah, maybe a little bit longer than that. Around 10 years. Around 10 years. All right, last call for phone calls. And do we have a basketball game that was delayed, McLovin?
Yeah, I saw there was a conference tournament game where they pulled guys off the court
because
to take temperatures. They wanted to be.
Where? What?
It was it was Ohio University.
So it was Akron and Ohio University. So
Yeah.
the Mid-American Conference delayed by an hour, and this according to a source. The players and staff are being temperature tested. Here we go. Got another one, Paulie?
Dan Wolken of USA Today just posted, breaking the AAC tournament is going to be canceled per a source. First domino fall to AAC.
Okay. All right, we'll take a break. Last call for phone calls after this. Once again, my favorite thing to do, aside from making fun of Fritzy, is to go through the mail. I love getting the patches. Orange County. I am protected. If I go into California, I shouldn't say this. I should be good to go. I have to get that ironed out. This is from Wolf Point Police Department, and that's in Montana, I believe. So I got that. The Corvallis firefighters. I'm a little nervous about opening some of these because who knows what's in here. This is live. I'm going to do the ones that feel... Oh, there's another patch in here. Let's see what we have. This is from Parachute Police. That is the town of Parachute, and Parachute is in Colorado. Parachute. That's from Chief Samuel Stewart. Thank you, Chief. Let's see if I can find another one in here. Yep. Let's see what we got here. Ooh, Paulie is going to love that one. Chicago Police. And then I get some decorations there as well. Accommodations or accreditations or something like that. You know what I'm talking about. I did something really special as a policeman. And I haven't had many run-ins with the police, by the way, in case you're wondering. I've had, I think, one ticket in my life. This is Cedar Rapids, Corey Lentz, who sent that in. Thank you, Corey. I love getting these. This is Naval Hospital, the Pink Palace. I think I've gone to a Pink Palace before, but it was a different kind of Pink Palace. EMS patch. This is from Michael, Navy Corpsman. Thank you. That's great. I appreciate that. Let's see what else I have. Ooh, that's heavy. That's a heavy one right here. How are we doing on time, Alan? Ooh. Okay. This is St. Peter, Minnesota. This is from Matthew Peters, who somehow works in the St. Peter Police Department. He's the chief of police in St. Peter. Yes. Now, we had Tom Izzo on, Michigan State's head coach, last hour and a half ago, and I asked Coach what he thought about playing the basketball tournament. Here's Tom Izzo of Michigan State. What if the Big Ten asked you your opinion?
Well, it would have been a couple days ago, if I was to be honest with you, where I would have said, hey, let's play the games. And now I'm looking at it and saying, it sure is starting to lean towards maybe it'd be best if things were postponed or canceled.
The Big Ten Conference just announced that it was canceling the remainder of the Big Ten men's basketball tournament effective immediately. The SEC has canceled its tournament. The AAC has canceled its tournament. This is in the past 4 minutes that all of this has transpired. Tip-off was going to be 10 minutes from now. The conference games, the conference in general, they have canceled everything. Big East is not canceled yet, and I think they have a noon Eastern game as well. This from Chris Mannix, our good buddy. The Celtics are headed back to Boston. The message being told to the players is to self-isolate for a few days, league sources told Sports Illustrated, Boston played Utah twice in the last couple of weeks, with Rudy Gobert testing positive and now Donovan Mitchell testing positive. Precautionary measures are in order for the Boston Celtics. Bill in Washington. Hey, Bill, what do you have for me today?
Hey, so I'm an ER doctor in Washington State. I, of course, used a fake name because I want to be anonymous. But I think one of the misconceptions is that it's not necessarily the virus that we're worried about. It's that if so many people get it, we won't have the resources, meaning that they need oxygen, they need steroids. And like in the town I'm in, we could maybe handle 20 cases. So if we had 50, the people that don't have the oxygen, the people that don't have the steroids, that's where we're worried about it.
Well, thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. Jay Bilas had talked to me about that just the strain on our healthcare system if you have, the number of people who would test positive. So we appreciate that. Mike in Los Angeles. Hey, Mike, what do you have for me?
Hey, guys, 5'11" and a squishy 220.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Amid all the cancellations of MLB and NBA and everything else, more importantly, what's going to happen to the upcoming season of the AUAA season?
That's going to continue. What we're going to do starting tonight, if you're missing basketball, we're going to replay some AUAA action, the American Unathletic Association of America. Great moments in AUAA, the inaugural season. But we're going to post that on Twitter tonight. If you're looking for basketball, we're here to help. And those games were played in front of an arena with no fans. We took precautionary measures. We could have packed the building. We wanted to protect the fans from bad basketball, so we basically said no fans need to watch this. Let's go around the room on what we learned on this award-winning program. By the way, I'm proud of the way we handled today. You guys all did a great job. The audience was great as well. These are trying times. This is different. You're trying to do the best you can in real time with what's going on with all the information here. Fritzy, what did you learn today?
Tom Izzo told us he's starting to lean toward postponing or canceling the NCAA tournament altogether.
McLovin.
Tom Izzo was talking about playing with Steve Mariucci at Northern Michigan, D2 back in the day.
McLovin. Or Seton.
The Meat Friday song Bracket Challenge still on.
Yes, it is. We will continue that. That starts next week, by the way.
We are not canceling that.
And the Celebrity Bracket Challenge, we hope that we're still going to hold that because Todd did such a great job and he wants to remind me of that all the time. Yeah, he did a great job. Paulie, what'd you learn?
It's 6 minutes to the tip-off of the Big East tournament, and it's still on as of now.
What we learned brought to you by LegalZoom, where life meets legal. If you have a small business, use LegalZoom right now to make sure you're set up for success. Go to LegalZoom.com today. To take care of your business needs, enter the promo code Patrick in the box at checkout. LegalZoom, LegalZoom.com. Talk to you tomorrow, hopefully.